Anson Mount perfectly portrays Captain Christopher Pike in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, fixing one very outdated aspect of Jeffrey Hunter's original Captain Pike. Jeffrey Hunter's Pike was initially meant to be the leading man of Star Trek, the original series, before being replaced by the more dynamic Captain James T. Kirk, William Shatner. In Star Trek's original pilot, The Cage, Pike is captain of the Enterprise, and Leonard Nimoy's Spock is the only crew member who made the transition from The Cage to the rest of TOS. Captain Pike made a brief appearance in the Star Trek, the original series two-parter, The Menagerie, after suffering a horrific injury while saving a group of Starfleet cadets. This officially established that Pike had been captain of the Enterprise before Kirk, and set up several elements of Pike's story. Following his appearance in Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Anson Mount's take on Captain Pike became popular enough to earn his own spin-off. Strange New Worlds has since become one of modern Star Trek's best shows, with a compelling cast of characters led by Mount's near-perfect leading man, with one character change typifying this success. Captain Pike's attitude towards women in Strange New Worlds is his best change from 1960s Star Trek. Pike's comments in The Cage feel out of place for the 23rd century. In The Cage, a woman named J. M. Colt, Laurel Goodwin, acts as Captain Pike's personal yeoman. When Colt delivers a report to Pike on the bridge, he comments that he can't get used to having a woman on the bridge. Realizing that his first officer, Number 1, Majel Barrett, is in fact a woman, Pike quickly adds, "No offense, Lieutenant. You're different, of course." Not only do these comments reflect a view that was already becoming outdated by the late 1960s, but they also make no sense in the context of Star Trek's 23rd century utopian society. Jeffrey Hunter's Pike felt undeniably like a product of the 1960s, but thankfully, his sexist attitude is not at all reflected in Anson Mount's take on the character. The Pike of Strange New Worlds surrounds himself with capable officers, many of whom happen to be women, and he treats all of his officers like family. The future world presented in Star Trek has no room for sexism or any other kind of prejudice, and Captain Pike's attitude reflects that worldview. He listens to all of his officers, considering their ideas equally, regardless of their gender, age, or species. Captain Pike is a romantic leading man in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Anson Mount's Pike makes a great romantic lead. Jeffrey Hunter's Captain Pike would not have worked nearly as well as Anson Mount's does as a romantic leading man. Captain Pike has all the qualities of a strong male lead, while also defying traditional gender roles in some ways. He's a strong leader, without being arrogant or demanding. He seeks advice and knowledge from those around him, commanding the Enterprise in a more collaborative way than some other Trek captains have. Pike is also a romantic, without the leering qualities Kirk could sometimes have on TOS. Captain Pike clearly cares for and respects his romantic partner, Captain Marie Battelle, Melanie Scrofano, and he accepts that she is also an ambitious Starfleet captain. He is not at all threatened by her position in Starfleet, and he is the one who cooks whenever they are together. In his Starfleet uniform and an apron, Captain Pike represents the perfect leading man. Not only is Pike comfortable with who he is, but he's also comfortable being surrounded by strong, capable women. All of this only makes him more likable and attractive as a romantic lead in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Captain Christopher Pike's portrayal in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds brings a profound evolution from his original 1960s depiction. In the original series, Pike, played by Jeffrey Hunter, was a serious, somewhat rigid character, encapsulating the stoic, duty-bound nature expected of Starfleet officers of that era. However, Anson Mount's interpretation of Pike has introduced a refreshing depth and humanity to the character, making Pike's biggest change his warm, empathetic, and approachable leadership style. A significant departure that, rather than feeling incongruous, has turned out to be one of the series' greatest strengths. Pike's original characterization, the serious leader of the 60s. In Star Trek's 1965 pilot episode, The Cage, Captain Pike was depicted as a tormented, introspective leader wrestling with doubts about his role in Starfleet. He seemed to carry the weight of the universe on his shoulders, often appearing stoic and subdued. Pike was someone who kept his emotions at bay, prioritizing order and discipline in a manner that reflected the cultural expectations of masculinity in the 1960s. His personal struggles were downplayed, emphasizing his role as the decisive captain who seldom questioned his choices publicly. This initial portrayal set the stage for a character seen as a precursor to the more iconic Captain Kirk, resolute, disciplined, but emotionally distant. Anson mounts Pike, embracing humanity and compassion. Fast forward to Strange New Worlds, and Anson mounts Captain Pike offers a starkly different approach. This version of Pike is compassionate, humorous, and unafraid to embrace vulnerability. Unlike his 1960s counterpart, he actively cultivates relationships with his crew members and values open communication. This transformation reflects modern sensibilities, aligning with contemporary ideals of leadership that prioritize empathy, inclusivity, and mutual respect. In one of the show's early episodes, Pike invites his officers to his quarters for dinner, creating a sense of camaraderie that was rarely seen in the original series. Rather than maintaining a strict hierarchy, Pike fosters an environment where his crew feels valued and understood, breaking down traditional barriers and encouraging open dialogues. Pike's softer approach to leadership resonates with audiences today because it acknowledges that strength and kindness are not mutually exclusive. His willingness to show care for his team creates a stronger and more united crew, and his transparent concern for their well-being adds depth to his character. This shift from a rigid command style to a more supportive one not only enhances the character but also demonstrates how Star Trek has evolved to reflect changing cultural norms. Today's audiences are more receptive to leaders who show vulnerability and emotional intelligence, qualities that Mounts Pike embodies effortlessly. The burden of knowledge, a leader confronting his future. One of the most significant additions to Pike's character arc in Strange New Worlds is his awareness of his impending fate. In the Star Trek Discovery crossover, Pike is shown a vision of the future where he will suffer a severe injury, leaving him paralyzed and confined to a life support chair. Rather than succumbing to despair, however, Pike uses this knowledge as a catalyst to appreciate his time in command, showing a quiet heroism and resilience that resonate powerfully with viewers. His awareness of his fate makes him a more reflective leader, one who doesn't take his role or his relationships for granted. This foreknowledge of his own tragedy serves as a subtle reminder of mortality, allowing Pike to approach each mission